I chipped in for my brother's wedding because I love him and he's always been there for me. But then my stepsister says I have to pay for her wedding. Guys, I hate this girl. Well, I'm not going to do it, and now my family is shunning me. Well, you know what? I'm just going to expose a family secret that's going to rock our entire family for decades. Life isn't always what we want it to be. Our family members are supposed to look out for us, but often they let their own selfish desires get in the way of doing the right thing. You can just call me OP. I'm in a predicament I need to get off my chest, and I could use advice I could get right now. I'm 27 and female. I never truly knew my mom. Although I've heard great things about her from family members and friends that she had, I never truly got to know a mother's love. You see, my mother passed away when I was only 2 years old. My little brother Sean was only 1 year old, and my father was certainly grief-stricken in his own way, but soon after my mother's death, he remarried the first woman who entered his life after the death of my mom. Enter the world of my horrible stepmother, Amelia. I always felt like Amelia took advantage of my father's state of vulnerability at the time, but as time has gone, I wonder if I'm just lying to myself to make my father seem better in my mind than he truly is. All I can say with absolute certainty is that if I would never treat my own child the way Amelia treated Sean and me growing up, and if I married a man who neglected his children the way my father neglected us, I would drop the guy in a heartbeat, man. I try to be cognizant and understanding of the fact that people are flawed. But when people are aware of their flaws and continue making the same decisions that affect other people, you can't help but feel like they're only driven by self-motivation and sheer callousness. Ever since Sean and I met Amelia, she's done nothing but display the worst behavior. She's entitled, controlling, abusive, short-tempered, and she's a huge narcissist who thinks the world revolves around her. And rather than setting an example of what not to do, her daughter Rease takes from Amelia so much that you might wonder if she's simply a clone. I swear, growing up with Rease and Amelia was like watching Mini-Me and Dr. Evil in those Austin Power movies, except there was nothing funny about it. Believe it or not, my father has some good traits that he could have at least passed down to Rease. But he's been so busy working hard to just appease Rease and Amelia's every want and desire that my father seldom had time for actual parenting. Even though Rease was the youngest, she used physical force and intimidation to get her way. She was astute enough to realize at a young age that she could get just about anything she wanted because she knew that she had Amelia and my father to back her every move. At first, I could almost cut my father some slack for showing somewhat preferential treatment to Rease. Yeah, she was the newborn baby of my father and Amelia's recent union. Yet, instead of finding a way to successfully make her a part of the family, my father seemed to decide Rease was his sole family. Sean and my needs took a backseat to every single whim. I can't even begin to tell you how many times Sean and I raised these concerns to our father. He would often come home from work late at night and not even notice or care that Sean and I had bruises and welts from the being beat by both Amelia and Rease. Father simply turned a blind eye and a deaf ear to all the concerns. He could not, or perhaps would not, face the reality that he had both married and given birth to absolute nutcases. Anytime Sean or I so much as make a mistake, or speak out in turn, or do something that upset little Princess Rease, Amelia would be on our cases like a shark it's drawn to blood. She would never hesitate to berate us until we were both sobbing in shame, embarrassment, confusion, and anger. When we got older, Rease found more sinister and insidious ways to make Sean and my lives miserable, even outside of the family home. When Rease was a freshman in high school, I was a senior and Sean was a junior. Rease started a rumor that I was pregnant, and everyone believed it because I gained some weight. This wreaked havoc on my body image issue, and everybody in the entire school thought I was a total tramp as well. When I told my parents about this, Amelia and my father both just brushed it off as teenage nonsense and told me to get over it. Rease just stood there and smiled, and then there was another time when Rease started a rumor that Sean's been flirting with the cheerleaders at school, and some of the cheerleaders' boyfriends ganged up on Sean after school one day and beat him to a pulp. Reese just laughed when Sean walked in, covered in blood and bruises and a bloody eye. Amelia simply told Sean he needed to man up and learn how to fight. This resentment only got worse over the years. Reese never grew out of her toddler mentality, and she still believes the world revolves around her. She's never had to lift a finger or do anything. My father still pays all her bills, and Amelia even insisted that she be given a nice apartment. Or her own, so she can, quote, get some space from her siblings and become her own person. Geez, that would be nice if Sean and I could get such a special luxury favor done for us, but instead, Sean and I are still living at our childhood home, slaving away at chores. As such, we still have to deal with Amelia's crap and my father's impotent unwillingness to be a true man and stand up for his offspring. In fact, Sean and I have given up all hope when it comes to my father ever waking up and just seeing the putrid reality that he's manifested. He'll figure out that one day, when there's no one around to take care of him, we will just throw him in some nursing home. Well, fast forward to the present day, and the real reason I'm writing all this for you guys. You see, Reese has found her supposed soulmate. Her suitor is hardly worth talking about. I'll spare you the details and just tell you all he's a huge jerk. I could not care less that Reese is getting married. When I heard the news, my plan was to attend the wedding just to keep the peace, keep my head down and get out of there as fast as I could. Of course, nothing can ever be that easy when it comes to my family. You see, recently my beloved brother Sean found a soulmate of his own. Sean's wife is absolutely lovely. She's a great person, and I can tell she and Sean will have a wonderful, prosperous marriage. In fact, I'd say Sean might just be so lucky that he doesn't appear to be repeating the cycle of trauma. He picked out a partner who's just about the opposite of Amelia and Reese. But I digress. My point is, Sean got married recently, and I was so ecstatic about it. Since we were young, I'd always promised Sean that whenever he found the love of his life, I would happily make a hefty contribution to his wedding. I work at a social media company, so I don't make a ton of money. But I gave Sean what I could spare so he and his beloved wife could have a decent wedding. It was a low-key affair and quite beautiful and touching. Amelia and Reese did not even attend, which was fine by me. What hurt Sean and me the most was our father skipping the wedding. Giving the excuse that he would work a deadline to oversee. We were hurt by this, but I can't say that we were all too surprised. Anyways, Amelia caught wind of the fact that I'd made a hefty financial contribution to Sean's wedding. Somehow Amelia got the idea in her head that I would be willing to make an even greater contribution to Reese's upcoming wedding. I could tell something foul was afoot when she came into the living room and started talking to me in a sweet tone. This was unusual, as Amelia was often curt and dismissive towards me, no matter what the situation was. Amelia started asking me how I've been and telling me how she thought it was so sweet and kind to me to have contributed financially to Sean's wedding. I nearly laughed in Amelia's face because it was as plain as day that she was lying through her teeth. I was tired of her crap, so I bluntly asked her what it was that she wanted. Once Amelia could tell I was on to her game, her entire demeanor changed in the blink of an eye. Be suspicious of people who are capable of this, my readers here, because this is one of the ultimate signs that you're dealing with a toxic manipulator. Amelia then laid bare her entire deck of cards. She told me point blank that I should pay for Reese's wedding. My jaw nearly dropped to the floor as I was in such disbelief. Can you imagine something so absurd? I work at a social media company, and does Amelia live in the solar system? Even though I had heard and understood her the first time, all I could manage to blurt out was, "What?" Amelia explained that both she and Reese agree that it would only be fair to the family if I were to pay for the entire wedding. I asked Amelia if she meant to pay for the entire thing or half of it. I didn't even want to pay for half of it, mind you, but that was a more reasonable request than the whole darn thing. Well, Amelia made it clear that she meant the entire wedding, and As I'd stated before, Rease thought of herself as some sort of fanciful princess or queen, whereas Sean's wedding had been a low-key and relatively affordable affair. Amelia explained that Rease wanted a huge and lavish, luxurious wedding, and I simply could not stop myself from rolling my eyes. Amelia explained all these silly and ridiculous demands to me as if this was a commonplace conversation and not an act of sheer lunacy. My whole life I've had to tiptoe around just to keep the peace in the household. Well, I was sick and tired of it. I flat out told Amelia no. I told her there's no way I could afford to pay for an entire wedding on my salary, and I told her I didn't even want to do it anyways. Amelia's so clueless and blind that she asked me why I would not want to help. I started laughing in her face. I reminded Amelia that she and Rease had treated Sean and me like crap our entire lives. I told her the reason I helped out with Sean's wedding was because I actually considered him a family member. I told Amelia that she and Rease had never treated me like a family, and so they could pay for their own wedding themselves. Amelia was absolutely furious. She gets so upset she knocked over a glass vase onto the floor and it shattered. My father is such a coward, he simply got up from his computer and closed the door to his office. He'd heard the entire confrontation and was not willing to stand up for me. What a plastic, pathetic slime ball of a father. He always bows down to her every demand, and he acts like Amelia isn't intimidating as Alexander the Great. It's been a week since the huge fight between Amelia and me, and the tension is so thick in this household that you could cut it with a knife. Amelia has been making my life a living heck, and she's been treating Sean the same way, and I just understand being upset with me, but the fact that Amelia's taking out her anger toward me on Sean is simply despicable. She's a giant turd. She's been making noise at all hours of the night, keeping Sean and me from sleeping, and we have real jobs that we work to make a living, and Amelia doesn't even have a job, so she can't possibly empathize with our need to sleep. She's been getting drunk and blasting Limp Bizkit, Korn, Insane Clown Posse, and all sorts of awful music. It's been driving me crazy, and sure enough, my father is too big of a wimp. He's too big of a clown to dare ask Amelia to amend her behavior even slightly. Guys, he's just so spineless. Guys, I ask again, I'm about to lose my marbles. What should I do? People, please answer. I can't continue living the sea of madness inside of this household. I work for a social media company, and I simply don't make enough money to move out on my own yet. Obviously, Sean and I need to find a way out of here. We can't afford to have any more wasted years in this household. I'll take any advice you people are willing to toss my way. Update number 1. Hey guys, I'm back with another update. Well, OP here, it's time. I read all your comments. There was a lot of great advice, and I must admit some of you were a tad harsh about the situation. But sometimes a harsh truth is what you need to hear. Yes, I know Sean and I are in our mid-20s living in the family home, but guys, you have to understand it's been very difficult saving up money in an economically depressed town such as our own. However, Sean and I took the advice of many of you mentioning in the comments. We realized after reviewing our finances that Sean and I made high enough combined salaries between us that we could afford to move into a small apartment on the rough end of town. We decided anything was better than our current living quarters. I'm not a prisoner, I'm a free woman. Not to mention the house has been even more cramped and stressful when Sean's wife had moved in with us. Amelia's not exactly kind of welcoming to Sean's wife, and this adds to the tension in the household. It stunk even worse that Amelia's practically kissing Reese's husband's butt. It turns out Sean and I were smart to get a head start on this whole moving out business. When Amelia discovered Sean and me in the act of gathering our belongings and packing up our stuff to move out, Amelia practically blew a fuse. She was shouting at us, demanding to know what we were doing and where we thought that we were going. I told her to shut her mouth because we were moving out and not putting up with her crap anymore, just so she knows. Amelia simply told us that we could not move out. She said that she needed us around to help with Reese's wedding, and I laughed in the old fool's face. My father ran out of his own home office and demanded to know what is going on. You know what? I just straight up ignored him. That's right. What was he going to do? He's a wimp. Amelia admitted that she's planned on having us evicted anyways, and I laughed and told her that, well, we must be doing her a favor. Wish me luck, guys. Sean's wife and I are living in a new apartment now, and now I no longer feel like a stranger in a stranger land inside my own home. Update number 2. Hey guys, I'm back again. Well, OP here with another update. I wish I could say things are getting better now that Sean and I have moved out of our putrid and rotten family home, but things are getting even crazier. Amelia does not seem to want to take anything lightly. She's got to blow everything out of proportion, as she always does, and it seems now she's recently been completely hell-bent on ruining my job and my professional reputation. As I mentioned in a previous post, I work at a social media company. I'm a content creator as well as a moderator of several social media pages. It might sound like an easy job, but it's quite a lot of work. Well, Amelia unfortunately knew what company I worked for, even though I assume she didn't even know that much about me. Here's how completely nuts Amelia is. She showed up at my workplace and tried to file a complaint against me. She told my coworkers at the front desk that I was a rotten person who, quote, did not care about her family. They were obviously quite perplexed and even a bit frightened by all of this crap. So they asked me what's going on, and I had to explain the whole embarrassing situation to my boss. Amelia was escorted off the work premises, and the police did not arrest her or even take my concerns about her seriously. Things have become even crazier now, and Amelia has taken her war against me into the realms of cyberspace. She's bombarding my social media, guys, with negative and highly personal revealing comments. I'm doing my best to moderate something, but she has no job of responsibilities of her own that she must attend to, you know. So, she can just dedicate her entire day to this childish trolling. My boss said all this negativity and publicity on the social media pages is actually hurting the company, guys. I'm so tired of this. Amelia can't just leave me alone. So I want to ask you guys again, what do I do? Update number 3. Hello, everyone. I think I've made a breakthrough. There are a lot of details to go over, so bear with me. I'll try to get to the point as quickly as I can, after my last update, I was getting a lot of concerned comments regarding the amount of trolling and harassment from Amelia, which I was unfortunately enduring. It's been a few days since then, so I'm sure you're all curious if Amelia's childish behavior has ceased. Sadly, it has not. She's still trolling up a storm on all my workplace social media pages, and even if I block her, she keeps making new profiles. She's too dumb to hide her name, so I always know it's her. She uses the same picture of herself in every single profile that she makes. What an old fool. Anyways, I was doing some investigation, and among all the negative and harassments, I saw a curious comment from a mysterious man that piqued my interest. Right there in the comment section, underneath one of Amelia's hateful and scornful diatribes, was a comment from a man who looked to be about Amelia's age. The comment said, "You're still here. I'm just checking your profile. You're gorgeous, like 24 years ago." For some reason, I could not get that comment out of my mind, and I was drawn to it immediately. So I checked the man's profile, and his name was Rease. And glancing at his information told me he went to the same high school as Amelia, and is the same age at 55. Same graduating class, and, well, they even have mutual friends on Facebook. I could not get this strange comment out of my mind. It was clear that this Rease guy had some sort of personal connection to Amelia. That wasn't so much of a surprise, I'd say, because Amelia knows a lot of people, but the 24-year-ago part, it keeps eating away at me. And that's when it hit me like a ton of bricks. Rease is a 24-year-old, and my father and Amelia got married 24 years ago. Why the heck would this Rease guy be talking about 24 years ago? I have to get to the bottom of this, and I don't have any recollection of a Rease being even somewhat related to my family or a friend of the family. I remember all my father and Amelia's friends from when I was a child, and I would remember the name of somebody who shared a name with my foul stepsister. Do you guys on here have any advice that I could use? I decided to send this to Ron Rease because I want him to get a message on Facebook, but he has not responded to my message yet. I'm a bit nervous about it. Hopefully, I can get some answers so I can get some peace of mind about it. Update number 4. Oh boys, guys, so much has happened since my last update. There have been quite a few revelations today, and I want to fill you in on it. Ron Rease responded finally. I must admit, we arranged a meetup and I was nervous about how I would be received. How was I to know he wasn't working with Amelia? My paranoia was starting to get to me, and luckily, Ron Rease soon put me at ease. He looked startlingly alike to Rease, but he was not nearly as sour or rude. He asked me what the purpose of this meeting was, and I'd only given him a couple of details when he arranged the Facebook meeting. All he truly knew was that this meeting was at the utmost importance to me. We exchanged awkward pleasantries, and then I got to the point. I asked him about his history with Amelia. I explained that Amelia was my evil stepmother who seemed determined to go from here to eternity just to make my life a living heck. I asked Ron Rease what the purpose of his 24 comment was, and he explained everything, and it became so clear. My initial hunch had indeed been correct. Ron Rease had attended high school with Amelia back in the 1980s, and they even had a relationship but grew apart after the graduation. After Amelia cheated on him, he told me that she was always a heartbreaker and had always been unfaithful to the men in her life. He said 24 years ago, he and Amelia reconnected and actually had a relationship. Wow. He said Amelia began acting strange at some point toward the end of the relationship and eventually ghosted him. He said he recently joined Facebook, tracked her down, and realized that she was still out there. But he said Amelia would not respond to any of the messages. It all became clear to me what happened, but I had to get proof. It was obvious Amelia had a relationship with Ron Rease at the same time that she's been courting my father. I asked Ron Rease if he would be willing to take a DNA test, just to prove that he was Reese's father. He agreed, and we both suspected Rease had been named after him. Well, when we got the results from the lab later on, we were spelled out plainly for all to see. Ron Rease was the true father of my stepsister Rease. It was confirmed that Amelia had committed an act of infidelity behind my father's back. I knew what I had to do to get even with my foul and rotten family. I called Amelia and spoke cordially with her. I acted apologetic and appealed to her massive ego to get on Amelia's good side. And then I offered to pay for half of Reese's wedding if she would, be willing to pay the other half. Amelia was ecstatic to hear this, and arrangements for the wedding are being made as we speak. But I've got a few tricks up my sleeve that'll drop a bombshell on this pathetic family. Final update. Hello everyone, OP here. I know it's been a while since my last update. I wanted to tie up some loose ends. This is going to be my final update because I believe this chapter of my life is finally over. Amelia always acted like she was Genghis Khan, but you all should have seen how pathetic she looked after I ruined Reese's wedding. I'll cut right to the chase. On the day of the wedding, Sean and I acted as cool as we could. We didn't know anything. The wedding festivities were beginning, and there was quite a crowd gathered just to see Rease marry a total idiot. Nobody knew Ron Rease was waiting on the sidelines. The venue organizers marched onto the floor and asked Amelia where the rest of the money that they were owed was. Amelia smugly replied that her stepdaughter, me, that means I would be taking care of it. Oh boy, my plan was coming into action now. I sharply pointed out that I had no reason to pay anything towards a wedding since Rease was not related to me. I pointed out that Rease was only related to 2 people in this room. Amelia and Ron Rease. Amelia's face turned ghostly white when she heard those words Ron Rease come out of my mouth. Without saying a word, Amelia gasped and tried to attack me for mentioning Ron Rease and exposing her scandalous affair. Well, her true colors were revealed to all and chaos erupted, but Ron revealed himself and confirmed everything I just said. The wedding was in an absolute uproar, and my father fell to his knees and began sobbing like a baby, begging to know why Amelia betrayed him. Family members and friends of the family who were present at the wedding were demanding to know the meaning of what's going on. Amelia had always just been able to pull the wool over everyone's eyes and manipulate them, but now she had been exposed. That's when I looked at my father in the eye and told him, "Now you can turn a deaf ear to the fact that your wife's been cheating on you, just like you ignored Sean and me when we came to you for help." Something snapped in my father at that moment, and Amelia looked like a deer in the headlights. It's funny. She always has a lot to say in her defense in any given argument. Amelia always had a list of excuses to use, but right then she was completely silent. My father looked Amelia right in the eyes and told her the marriage is over. He was shaking his head, sobbing, talking about how he wasted 2 decades of his life on this foul woman. Amelia tried to explain it away anyways, claiming that the situation was not what it looked like, but Ron Rease only reiterated the truth. He showed the printed DNA results for everyone to see. Despite all the abuse and neglect I received from my own father, I still loved him. I still felt bad for him, but Sean and I knew that he had made these decisions, and now he was the one who had to live with them. Reese and her goofball Sluter stood there looking confused. I must admit I did not have much shame in ruining their special day. Suddenly, the gravity of what happened seemed to hit her like a ton of bricks, and she cried, "My dad isn't my dad?" and began sobbing as her fiancé and the other wedding attendees tried to comfort her. Sean and I glanced at each other and had an immediate understanding without even saying a word. We could see that the family's lying had been exposed, and the family dynamic had been clearly irreparably damaged by what we just revealed at the wedding. Well, we've moved away from our family now, and I'm currently working remotely and living with Sean and his beloved wife in another city. Thank you, everybody, for supporting me throughout this mess. Alright guys, let's talk about this one. Let's talk about Sean Rease, Ron Rease. Let's just get into it. I was actually reading some of the comments and I was a bit surprised. A lot of the people, they were saying how OP went too far, exposing everybody on the wedding day, and this should have been done privately, especially with bringing Ron Rease in and having the big spectacle of him showing the DNA test in front of everyone at the wedding. I mean, there was a lot going on. So, let me know what you guys think. Do you think it was justified what OP decided to do, and how OP decided to do it? Let's talk about it down below, guys. If you guys are new to the channel, my name's Mr. Reddito. I narrate stories like this every day. So if you guys want to be a part of these daily internet readings, consider subscribing to the channel. Have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow. And of course, remember, it's cool to be kind. See ya.